Good evening, peeps. Ariel Grace, and this is a spiritual show. And I have an awesome show for you tonight. I do. We're going to be talking astrology with Kendra Lockhart. So I have some announcements while y'all gather. And this is exciting. So you're going to want to get like notepad and maybe paper out. I know some of you are like huge note takers. So, and remember, you can always watch the show again when it's through on the replay. Okay. So I have my announcements here. Theo and I are working on a huge project. It's huge. It's a huge project. And it's called World Awake. And it is for spiritual clergy members and also for professional spiritual care professionals, people like Reiki people, Diksha people, cranial sacral people, chiropractors, all kinds of people. You can check it out at worldawakeinc.org. Yes, go and just click on all the links and everything. Click all over the place. Check it out. All right? If you have any questions, you can always email me about them. All right. Now, first of all, I would love to thank everyone who downloaded Goddess Girls because I went to go check out my KDP account and to see how many books sold and how many Kindle Unlimited pages were read. And I had to walk away from the computer for a few seconds and then walk back and go, oh my God. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for downloading them. And if you can, please leave a review because it totally helps us authors out there on Amazon. So I just published the Diva Chronicles. And it's up on the Kindle book. And it's also, this one is also a paperback book. So check it out. See what you think. I would love to know what you think of Goddess Girls and which Goddess Girl you would like to know more about. All right. So I'm doing my annual July special. It's $60 for 45 minutes for an intuitive reading and energy session. It's all month, annual July special, the whole month. So if you want to book an appointment with me, you can email me at agangofgirlsinc@gmail.com. If you know my phone number, you can text me and book your appointment. Please remember, I need to know how to contact you and what day and time you would like. All right. So to get ready for July 4th, because a lot of you who have been listening to the show for a while or who know me, you know that July 4th is my favorite holiday of the year. Why? Well, because I'm a patriot. I love the United States. I love being an American. And July 4th is the day we get to celebrate our nation's birthday. So although I am not a political person, because I don't talk about politics, throw away the key. So I asked Kendra to come on tonight so that she could talk to us about our nation's birthday and maybe, what we have to look forward to here in the United States, okay? Because there's a lot of fear going around and we want to help you overcome your fear because you can't do anything when you're afraid, but you could do tons of things when you have hope, all right? So, hey, Bonnie. Hey, Deb. All right. So, sitting next to me tonight is Kendra Lockhart. She's the one that made my ring. A lot of you have asked me about my ring. So, she's the girl that did this. And so, if you need to, have anything done, get a hold of her, okay? All right. So, Kendra is a metaphysical facilitator and educator. All right, hear that, guys? All right. She's been guiding people for over 25 years through intuition, divination, and shadow integration around the world with both practical and playful education styles. So, Kendra has helped hundreds of students and clients close the gap from self to soul and optimize the way they are designed at the highest level. All right. So, Kendra lives in Chicago. Yeah. Hey, Chris. Hey, Iris. All right. So she lives in Chicago and loves passing along the wisdom and wonder from her life's work to the collective. When not working, she can be found making wedding bands on the dance floor, throwing cookie parties, and spoiling her cat. Because guess what? She has like one of the cutest cats on the planet.
She's the worst.
Yes. So this is Kendra, y'all. And if I remember, yeah, Iris, Chicago. So if I remember tonight, y'all have questions, remember, I don't know, Bonnie, our audio is fine. So turn your volume up, honey bunny. Turn the volume up. Okay. So, um, okay, I hope she got it. What was I saying about Chicago?
Well, we're coming up on 15 years that you and I met before you left the
Yes.
States. So I'm looking forward to that anniversary in 2024.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be in Chicago in September, peeps. I'm not sure when, though. So as soon as I figure it out, I'll be there. Anyway, if you have any questions, if I remember, I will put them up um, on video. Now, if you have questions for Kendra, go ahead and put them in the comments. If I can't put them on video because you're somewhere else, then I'll let her know that you have a question, and that way she can answer for you. Um, and I am watching both streams, the stream on both of my Facebook pages right now, and we are live on YouTube as well. So I'm going to let Kendra take over right now because she knows about astrology. I really don't. I just know I like hearing about it.
All right. I think it is probably one of the best tools to inform you how you're built beyond all of the programming and the skills and talents you've been given. For example, I'm a very talented artist. I'm very good at math, which helps astrology a lot, but that's not necessarily how I'm built. I'm built to be a spiritual educator. I'm built to bring in some play and games as I simplify abstract concepts. So that has helped me move myself from, well, here are things I think I'm good at, to here are jobs I probably should do, to, oh, here's a career I chose because I started getting good at things. No. Now I'm in my purpose work. So with that said, it is an absolute pleasure to be your guest. Well, we've been each other's fan club presidents for, like I said, almost 15 years, and I'm absolutely honored to come onto the show for your favorite holiday.
Yeah. Hey,
So
Mom.
we're going to talk about the origin story of America. We're going to talk about its actual date of birth, because we've got its birthday coming up, which isn't when it's born over again. It's more its anniversary.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the big three, and people who speak astrology know what that means, but people who don't say, but that is how one can know its primary layers of being built. My best friend, Melissa, who shared a chapter in life with me as a Pilates instructor, she always says, throw a food analogy at them. Everybody understands food. We like to eat things. So we're going to treat America's big three like a pizza. We're going to talk about the crust, which has to hold everything together. We're going to talk about the sauce so we understand what type of pizza it is. And then we're going to talk about toppings. What does it look like when we see it?
Right.
Then we're going to move in. So once we've figured out America's Americanness and how it's built and what sandbox we're all under the influence of being in America, Then we're going to talk about the last major transit we had. And I'll explain what that Pluto of 2022, what happened when we signed the Declaration of Independence, and what planet of profound transformation came back to that starting point, kind of like when the hands come back to midnight.
Yep.
And then, like Oriel asked and requested, what's in store for the next 6 months? I'll talk about what's going on for the collective, and then I'll talk about what's going on for you in your personal life. Sound good?
That sounds awesome. I like the pizza thing because a lot of the people that are listening tonight understand pizza.
It's hard not to understand pizza.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so let's jump in. And for any of you who also speak tarot, which is something that when I'm not doing all the other things I'm doing, I am a clairvoyant tarot advisor online. So I can sum up some of these concepts with pictures for you, which will help. But let's see what happened July 4th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we have a place of birth, we have a date of birth, and we have a time of birth because we've calculated based on how America presents itself. What is our gift wrap? What is our first impression? And narrowed it down to that. It's around 5 p.m. Some people will fight me on this and say, absolutely not. We are a Gemini rising nation. We did this at 3 a.m. I guarantee you, and we're going to, this is in honor of Theo. We're going to use 2 Greek gods to sum my point up quickly. I guarantee you America is not presenting as Hermes, the guy who says, I've got something to tell you. Let me zip between worlds. It's more Athena is, I'm wise and don't fight me. Right. So America comes across a lot more like that. So I'm going to say that our rising sign, our ascendant is Sagittarius. Also, think about it. These people were still British at that time.
Yeah,
it's from in a country that isn't even developed. I bet they want to sign this piece of paper, break away, and go home and have some crappy beer. They're not going to be up until 3 a.m. This is not, they didn't win the lottery. This isn't a fraternity party rager. This is a biting through the leash and running into traffic unknown because anything is better than a cruel master.
That's right.
So I'm going to default to our birth time is probably in the 5 p.m. zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. Like, I would say it did not happen around in the morning, or late at night. I think because when they all went in and signed it, it was during the day.
Yeah. So that's also important that means that our actual birth is a day chart instead of an evening chart, which would make our moon stronger. Our sun, which on July 4th is in the season of Cancer. So let's go for that crust of the pizza. And we're going to talk about what the sun is. Well, that's your vitality. That's your life force. That's your essence. And that's your actual path in the world. And that can be summed up if you look at this beautiful card from the Gilded Tarot deck. We've got the sun, and it's the center of the universe. Oh, I can't tip it right. There we go.
You got it. There you go.
Source of light for itself and everyone else. So that's summed up. Cancer, in the crust analogy, is the foundation, the essence. It holds everything together. Cancer rules nurturing, plenitude, wealth, tenderness. And if you look at America behind closed doors, it's not the conversation we lead with, but what's near and dear to our hearts. We like money. We like money in the form of food. We like money in the form of money. We like money in the form of having a house. We like money in the form of saying, I got married and I have a family. Here's my here's my new identity, which is better and fuller. So that identity has a high and a low version, or a light and a shadow. Cancer at its best is going to be very feely. We are patriotic. We get deep into the nature of how we sense our own sense of self. We love being supportive. Look at the number of nations that we rush in and help for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. We're definitely using emotions to make those decisions. Americans are intuitive. They check in and run it through how things are perceived subjectively versus stone cold facts.
Right.
We like our fertility. We want to have an abundance. We want to multiply. We want fecundity. We want to consider ourselves soft and friendly and motherly. Now, the shadow side of that is we're moody, we're defensive, we're insecure. Um, and we tend to get this kind of 50-50. We're not quite sure which half of us is winning. If you look at the idea of the crab, which sums up the Cancer sign, it's got armor on its back. But then you turn it over and its belly has nothing. It's soft. And if that happens, it'll die. It's not like a turtle that is armored and shelled on both sides.
Right.
It would be like you going marching through the streets with a strong work boot on one foot and barefoot on the other.
Right.
If you think about it, that's actually very American as far as this toughness and then this vulnerability. If you look at the shadow side of America, the fact that we consider ourselves defensive at our worst, but abundant at our best, our Navy might, our Department of Defense in Navy alone, has 3 million tons of ships. The next closest in the world has 800,000. And that will play into our ascendant a little too. But if you look at our relationship to our path and our essence, that is the crust. So now we're going to move on to my next beautiful card in my steampunk deck. This is the Gilded Tarot for anyone who wants to know, by the way. Now we have this gorgeous looking thing called the Moon card.
Yeah.
The Moon rules our emotional nature, which is our subjective way we see the world. It's not our path. Now it's the cycles and phases and tides that we go through because it has a path of high and low. The way I look at moon in people's astrology charts is, well, are they dramatic emotions or are they subdued? Are they warm emotions or are they kind of cool? What is the amount of receptivity? And how does that person, or as we're talking about America, which we are personifying, that entity reflect the emotional experience? Well, we've got our moon in Aquarius in America, and that rules some interesting virtues. Aquarius,
Yes, Aquarius people are interesting. Yeah.
Aquarius likes liberation. So obviously, when we broke away, we were certainly feeling a need for some type of freedom that would come from unshackling ourselves. Now, I was never that great at history, but I do remember how unbearable the relationship back to the parent of England was, that even though we were a child, we were happier emancipating ourselves into the unknown than to stay in a form of oppression. And if any of you had a very, very dominant parent or an abusive mother or father, that was the American narrative at the time, or the colonists at the time. They hadn't quite graduated into sovereignty yet. We'll talk about that. That'll come in handy. The light version of Aquarius is that it's innovative, it's humanitarian, it doesn't want to love you one-to-one, it wants to care about a whole unit. And I find that very American at its emotional IQ. It's eccentric. We're a little weird here. We're like the teenager who hasn't quite figured out their style. You know, we're still a little cringe as far as the way we're dressing or our makeup experiment. Or even just the other day, someone invited me to their pet potluck. Probably not very European, probably not very Russian, probably not very Asian, definitely American. Pet potluck, and I didn't know what that was. And like, are we eating our animals? Or do we have to make them as cat and dog shaped? What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, it's dinner and bring your animal and food. Okay. Okay. Context. Context over content. So the shadow side of Aquarius is that it can be unnecessarily rebellious. It can have no empathy. It can be aloof and unfeeling. It can be contrarian, and it can be a bit dogmatic. And so if you think about the character of an Aquarian moon, that would be Spock. It's
Right.
he couldn't have the empathy. He just wanted to look at the instructions and build the furniture, or this is what I mean. I love his integrity. He always does the right thing 99% of the time, but he's lost the element of being able to be in the shoes of another. And how this plays out in America is we claim we want to benefit all here and leave nobody behind, but when it comes time to experiencing the marginalization, we don't want anything to do with that. We don't want to know what it feels like to be poor or hungry or alone. We would rather just make sure that that's not an issue. So, right intention, wrong approach.
Right.
However, that innovation that we've got, when we get passions and movements, look at the things that we've invented in America. And I'm not diminishing inventions in other cultures, but for a nation that's under 300 years old, good Lord,
We
the
move. We're movers and shakers.
the advancements in transportation, technology, medicine, art, music, film. I mean,
Yep.
and this will make me segue into our ascendant. Look at what beasts we are as far as athleticism and sports.
We are beasts.
Beasts.
We are.
Yep. You know, we see the demonstration of talent in the form of, you know, Russian gymnasts, or I should say the Russian ice skaters, the Chinese gymnasts. But we see your one niche, we got it all covered. We're like a university instead of a tiny like community colleges.
Right.
We dominate in sports, in all the ones we watch on TV, all the ones at the Olympics, all the weird ones. I mean, I grew up playing curling, and I went to state and could have gotten a college scholarship if I wanted to be that nerd. Hi, I'm a curling champion. Date me. No. I'm going to go be a sullen artist. It's the 90s. I'm in my goth era. So let's move into our ascendant and what the ascendant is. And I represent that in the form of the Fool card. Because if you look at him, he has yet to define himself. He's got the arc of all the signs. He seems ready to play a game called First Impression. It's not who he really is. So the ascendant is how we come across. It's the wrapping of the gift, the pretty paper, the shiny object syndrome. You know, some are very extravagant, some are very humble, some are very extroverted, some are very introverted, some are shy, some are very friendly and quick to start in a conversation. So we have Sagittarius, which we covered as our rising sign. Sagittarius. And I do love talking about the sign because it's one of those, you know, can't live with them, can't kill them signs. I love Sagittarius. Ask me how I know. I'm dating one. They're in charge of adventure, sportsmanship or athleticism, travel, foreign cultures, expansion and excess, higher learning, law, religion, wisdom, philosophy. So let's take a look at that little cluster right there, the foreign cultures. Our country is truly a melting pot. I live in Chicago. I can eat at least 54 different cuisines here in the city that I live in. Like off the top of my head, the last time I remember it was 54. Secrets out because Oriole showed off her ring.
Yeah.
I work with, when I am a jeweler, when I am a goldsmith and a gemologist, I work with talent from 27 other nations in a high rise. We're all together in a 17-floor building. I've got Turkey and Poland and Peru and Israel and Lithuania and China and you name it.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about that luck aspect. America does have kind of a bit of a golden touch. There's plenty that we've Midased for ourselves. Reason why we go for things as much as we do is because the odds are a little more in our favor. It is a sign of being charmed. It is related to Zeus in the zodiac, or I'm sorry, in Greek mythology, and Jupiter in the planetary system. Biggest planet, gonna win.
Yes, it is gonna win.
Gonna win. But it's also a planet
I
of
love
teaching.
Jupiter because he brings in like such good stuff. Like you said,
Right.
luck. But yeah.
He's the Gatsby. He knows how to put the party on.
Yeah, he does.
Now, the right version of Sagittarius is going to be optimistic, risk-taking, fortunate, idealistic, sovereign. Why do you think that's our rising sign when we broke away from England? And England's a scary bit. It's a scary beast to break away from because their astrology, their sun sign is Aries, and that can be dictatorial. That can be the bully. That can be the temper tantrum kid, and the demanding. I've got it all figured out.
Right.
Very vocal. Now, Aries is also quite fearless, which is why they sailed around the world and got a bunch of countries. The sun never sets on the British Empire for a reason.
Yeah.
But so the high version of Sagittarius is it's sovereign and it's wise. There is that American know-how. We do fancy ourselves able to teach ourselves and figure it out on our own, and not in an egoic or egocentric way. We are blessed with some of the gifts of Sagittarius. The shadow side, however, let's get into it. Indulgent, excessive, blunt, fanatical, larger than life complex, self-righteous. If we look at the nature of living in America as far as the health problems, if we combine that rock star attitude of the Sagittarius gift wrapping, and then we open up the gift called moody, love of money in the form of homes or foods. We've got a spending problem. We've got an eating problem. We've got some issues, and it doesn't take much to see that that's a perfect stack of the pizza. We've gone through crust to sauce to toppings. We've gone through our Cancer self. We've gone through our Aquarian emotional nature. We've gone through our Sagittarius filter that we love excess to the point of so much indulgence. We are checked out emotionally. We are not even empathetic to our own self-undoing. Right. And we're making ourselves sensitive and sick in the name of having more in a hoarding fashion. If you've ever seen a crab, I have an uncle who is he's a retired Navy guy. That's how he and my dad met. That's how we met Uncle Mike. He goes crabbing in Chesapeake. A crab clamps on and will die still holding on to the thing. You can put a chicken neck on a string in the water. He will snap onto it. You can pull him out of the water and drop him right in the bucket and just cut the string and then tie a new chicken neck up a little higher on the string. And he'll sit there in the bucket and not even try and figure out how to get out. It's a 5-sided bucket. There's an escape. Bob doesn't care. He'd rather go into some tasty jambalaya if you go to Maryland. All right, so now that we've got context of what it's like to turn America into a personality or to personify or express it, now we can start looking at what was the last major transit that was such a big deal in America in 2022. Mm-hmm. Pluto the planet, not a planet, in, out. That's an astronomer problem, not an astrologer problem. We know where we stand, but those guys with the telescopes and their criteria, they kind of made a little bit of a mess for a while.
Yeah, they did.
Whoops. Pluto is a planetary body. Pluto has an impact not only on the orbit, and it is in the governance of the sun's gravity, and it does rotate and revolve and revolution around our cluster of other planets. So he's in the band, okay? That's all we're just going to go.
I always thought he was in the band anyway, so I was like, whatever, you guys.
He's in the band.
He's in the band.
So when America signed the document, when they truly intentionalized and birthed themselves away in a structure, system, order, all that Capricorn energy of transformation, power, rebirth. Those are Pluto's virtues. That's what Pluto does. Sounds good. Sounds easy. Actually sounds kind of like a fabulous deal. Where do I sign? Pluto is so strong that it will pressure test anything to show you where the holes are. We do this in metals all the time, is we will run the hose and see where the gas leaks are so that we have an opportunity to fix it. So you go through the bad news to get the good news because now you're improving it. So there is an alchemy to Pluto. It takes it through a state change. When we melt gold down, we raise it degree by degree. And as anything not gold gets burnt up and higher and off, we scoop it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when you're trying to get fat out of a soup. Whoop and out, up and out, up and out. Now, soup doesn't care because it's not having a human experience. People care. People care a lot. So when Pluto was helping us explode away from the regime, the structure, the organization, and the institution of the crown to be its own, to be its own entity called the colonies, that was a breakaway from a parent for the freedom of sovereignty. We had to have an external battle.
Right.
We did that with the intention of refining ourselves instead of staying in a bad place. Now, Pluto takes about 242 or to 248 years to come back to that same degree. That was so important. And why 2022 was so important is we came back to the 27th degree of where we were when we signed that back in 1776. We don't have anybody to break away from.
No, we don't.
Or do we? Or do we? We're going to break away from ourselves. Not in a divisive way, not in a subtractive way. We're going to take a look and audit ourselves and say, okay, which of our institutions is holding us down the way England did? It's not an outside job. Now it's an inside job. Pluto moved into the sign of Capricorn in 2008. As soon as it entered, it was not subtle. You knew immediately that Pluto was coming to melt you down and make you 24 karat in all the areas that Capricorn is in charge of. Work, the system of money, government structure, institutions, authority, and tradition. In 2008, Obama said, hey guys, we're going into a recession. You didn't know that, but we are. Like, that was a sudden transformation. It wasn't, we haven't been doing very well for years. We all thought we were doing great. I was having a killer 2008 as far as business. And the next thing I know, I had to pressure test and be pressure tested.
Yep.
Now look at those things that I named. In 2008, Britney Spears went into a harsh conservatorship. She was pressure tested.
Yeah, she was.
That Capricorn energy of her father and his patriarchal idea of what to do with her freedom and transformation, because she had gone from teen star and was now an adult having kids. We look at other 2008s. Digital currency started becoming more and more normal instead of the outlier. We looked at 2022. Crypto had its rise and its implosion. We looked at the power shuffles in the government. We looked at the fact that, Bernie Sanders tried to run for president. We looked at the decentralizing of the government. It seems not to so much be a power play. It's a power shuffle.
Right.
Senate shut down a couple times. The budget hasn't been balanced. We are pressure testing the institution, the order, the system, the structure, the authority, and the tradition of our own government. We're taking a look at the way you do schools. More and more people are doing online home. We didn't even need the pandemic to help us figure that out. It just normalized it. Things just got faster.
Yep.
What else should we take a look at? We can take a look at authority. We have got we've got the Me Too movement. So Hollywood got busted as far as its elitism around authority. I'm not going to say it the patriarchy, because there were plenty of men that came forward in the Me Too. We looked at that church cover up, the number of lawsuits around pedophiles in the church. The church is an institution, it's a structure. It serves a more of a male role model called the Pope. There's not a girl Pope.
No.
So it is it's a patriarchal totem or position or role or title. We're looking at the reshuffling of all of our roles. We're looking at women can be breadwinners. We're looking at you can't tell which class I am anymore. I've got a friend who's a millionaire who dresses like the Big Lebowski. He looks borderline homeless. Yeah. He's no longer walking around, in $12,000 shoes. The roles are changing. We're looking at genders being changed up. We're looking at sex being changed up. We're looking at religion being changed up.
Yeah.
So this is how Pluto went into Capricorn in 2022. It showed right up on where it originally was, and it began our look at our internal audit and pressure test on our own relationship to our sovereignty. Just like 246 years ago, we looked at our own relationship and pressure tested it to England's sovereignty. That was telling us what we could and couldn't do, because we didn't have any yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa. Well, you know what though? Like, I had heard, I was watching, I was listening to Zoe Moon last year, because I listened to her show every week, and she was talking about that. And I was like, oh, wow, we're back. We cycled out. No wonder everything is kind of breaking down and people are becoming more aware. And, so because sometimes what happens, what we have to do is things have to break down in order to be rebuilt in a place where.
That's Pluto's magic. Yeah, Pluto's magic. It's not Saturn, where it subtracts what isn't working for you. And it says, let go of your training wheels. You're a big boy, ride the bike now. That's very Saturn. Saturn is karma and Saturn is teacher. What Pluto's magic is, and it's what allows me to breathe through the pressure tests and breathe through the crucible of being melted down, but knowing I'm getting refined. It's like there's less of me, but what's left over is a concentrated value. Is the way I can get through it is it's a loss to gain. It's a state change. It's caterpillar to butterfly. And so I was told you're being subtracted, but with the intention of being multiplied. So that helps me out a lot. And if you look at Greek mythology, again, Persephone was very enmeshed to her mother.
She was.
And when Hades, the underworld, Pluto, said, come with me for a little bit, she went down in the dark, got separated, got aware of what a shadow is and isn't, and came back and said, I'm back, Mom, but I'm no longer fused to you. I know what I'm like as an autonomous creature. I've refined myself. I'm worth more now to myself. It kind of sucked, but I really like the result. Much like a caterpillar to a butterfly, much like when I'm refining gold. It's not a blast to do it, but it's a joy to have it back to 24 karat.
Yep.
So in 2023, we've got the beauty of planet moving into Aquarius. Now we've covered what Aquarius is like as far as a human trait. We talked about it with our moon sign. But what areas of life for the collective does Aquarius govern or rule? It is going to be technology. It is going to be groups. It is going to be progress. It is going to be free thinking. It is going to be humanitarianism, and it is going to be equality. Great. Pressure test means it's going to be chaos before it's order. So if we look at how we're entering this year already, people took a big fat look at, do we really want to let TikTok still be a thing? Is this data ownership by a country that's not America in our best interest? You think it's fun and entertaining. No, this is not a Gemini domain. This is not about, amuse me. This is technology, and it includes humanitarianism. Is you could potentially alter the direction of lives if this is misused or it goes dark. So that is up for debate, and that is exactly what kicked off Pluto entering Aquarius. So I was really happy to say I think it's going to go technology first, because Aquarius is a sign that moves quickly like lightning does.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at other things and groups that probably will get decentralized. We've had an unusual number through very violent acts of attacks on people in houses of worship. Is worship going to be decentralized? We saw the documentary come out against some of the mega churches, and the disruption around Justin Bieber has renounced his association with his former preacher and pastor. A lot of hubris, a lot of misuse of funds, misuse of power, domination over women and people who worked under him. So where else can this go? Is free thinking going to get chaotic? Is it going to get shut down? Are we going to go through a little more censorship first before we understand where we want to draw that line? Yeah, it's going to be a little wild, wild west. Hold tight, fasten your seatbelts, because you've been through it before, because every 20 years, Pluto has gone through a sector of your life and done this. You're just not at a time where so many planets are shifting. We're now changing in clusters instead of isolates. Kind of like when the bills are coming in the mail, but you're out at the party. They're both happening, but you're distracting over here. Whereas now you don't have the party. The bills are coming in, the pipes need fixing, and the roof is leaking. All right, well, now it's all here in the same container and bucket. You can't run. And that is why so many people are turning, thank God, to metaphysics, to people with gifts in the arts of spiritual skills. And it's really becoming wonderful. One of my clients who's a lawyer, she said, I went everywhere looking for my answer in the material world, and I can't find it. So I'm ready to try the non-material world. What can I find if I go within, or I awaken, or I'm in a higher consciousness, or I change my actual brain state from beta to alpha? What's possible? How can I empower myself with those versus trying to run around and put band-aids on everything out in the matrix?
Right.
So that, I hope, takes down the levels of fear a little bit. Now, what I can say, for the next 6 months, for the collective, the nodes are changing. What are the nodes? They are points.
Oh, yeah.
They're points in the orbit of the moon relative to ellipticals, and they are considered destiny points. You have a north node, you have a south node, you have a head of the dragon, you have a tail of the dragon, you have the engine, you have the caboose. The south node is what you need to leave behind and put some brakes on. The north node is what you need to move towards, explore, and put some gas on. So the north node is now going to be entering Aries, and you are going to have to start reassessing your solo ambitions, your self-interests. You're going to have to move into a part of you that wants to be pioneering, courageous, and initiating. And what do you need to slow down on? That comfort zone, the south node of Libra, my relationships, my accommodatings of other people. Now it's time to relax a little on trying to, bond with everybody for justice and for harmony. Instead of a we, you need to have a little more me. That doesn't mean be selfish. It means check in with self.
Yes.
Now, the last thing I'll say before I turn it over back to you is the next major retrograde that will impact us. So that's the collective. That's what everyone needs to work on as far as a joint destiny. That's going to help us wake up and be better together, we, by working on self first before you move into others and group. The last thing I want to say is Venus is about to go retrograde into Leo in about a month.
Oh, so boy.
Bring it. I'm ready for this. And why would I say that? Well, let's first talk about this. Let's pull the pizza apart instead of add it up. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, value, pleasure, and worth.
Yep.
It's going into the sign of Leo. Leo loves creativity, loyalty, open heartedness, a bit of drama, um, romance, a little bit of showmanship, center of attention. Retrograde means it's time to stop looking out and it's time to start looking in and say, is everything working well? I'm part of a unit here, even if you're just, even if you're just looking for romance or if you're taking a time out from it, there's still a certain perception you have.
Right.
So the questions and the audits that I love from a good Venus retrograde, Venus is a goddess. It's Aphrodite. She's just oozes like, like old Hollywood. You
Yep.
put her in retrograde and you take that away from her, and suddenly she's not having the best of times. It's like when it's kind of like anyone see that old movie with Goldie Hawn, Camp Beverly Hills, when they took her away from her posh little stuff and made her go camping?
Right.
Oh, where's my life of luxury? Oh. So the beauty of that is she had to learn some new tricks.
Yep.
And so when you put Venus in retrograde and say, we're done letting you be Jessica Rabbit.
Right.
The major thing I want you to all do is homework for yourself. You'll thank me later. You're welcome now. Is with yourself or the union that you're in as a love language is for the other and yourself, not how you want to love. It's versus I know you love me because, and I'm going to give you my own personal example. I date somebody with a Cancer rising. He wants to love me through food support. He is constantly bringing me things to eat, asking me if I need groceries, or let's go grab a bite. How I know he loves me. That's how he wants it to look. That's the gift wrap. The actual present, how I know he loves me, is this boy. I cannot blowtorch him away from me. I mean, I have gone through thick and thin and up and down. I have lost 4 jobs in 2 years, and he stays sturdy and stable and in order so that when I start freaking out, he's not over there crying too, like a little brother who or have you ever seen sympathy pukers? As I'm throwing up and someone sees me throwing up and they're all like, blah, blah, blah. No, he can hold himself down as I go through my turbulence and my horrific waves. When there's water in my boat, he's not, going like, too. How I want to love him is to contribute to his career and growth. How he knows that I love him is I take care of his health, is I make sure he feels really good in his body and in his self-esteem and looks around and goes, hey, my girlfriend helped me pick a pretty dope apartment and I've got good neighbors and I can go for walks and I'm well resourced, which is a very Cancer nurturing thing to his Cancer rising. And there we go. I brought it full circle back to America. Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Yeah. Because that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Americans do. Americans are awesome.
They are. And on a closing note, the things I want you to think about as far as how we perceive and our actual identity are there 2 anthems that America has. If we look at the Star Spangled Banner, it's very Sagittarius.
It is.
I mean, it's the narrative is written definitely by a winner, somebody you didn't want to fight. We're talking about how proudly we hailed and, and we prevailed and we took care of business and there was madness and war everywhere. But check us out. You look at the other anthem, you look at America the Beautiful, and it's so Cancerian.
It is.
Amber waves of grain, purple mountain majesties. It's so poetic and tender. So
and beautiful. Yeah.
So if you can figure out how to make a pizza out of all that together instead of picking and choosing which part of America you would like to lean into or lean back from, you just might get that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Because we are.
Yep. We are. We're all in this together. All right, peeps. Well, I hope that this show helped you out. And we're gonna say goodbye. But please be safe for your 4th of July. All right. And have a wonderful summer. This is the last show for this year. We'll be back again at the end of September after I move and go visit everybody. So it'll be very fun for us. I'll be doing lives and psychic tips of the day. So watch out for those. And hopefully, the next time I see you, I will be moved to North Carolina. All right. So have a wonderful, wonderful summer. Remember, keep your heart open and align with the energy of love. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.